All right, so with Game Pass and especially the Microsoft Activision deal, there are Activision games that are starting to drop onto, well, Game Pass. And one of which is the Crash Bandicoot Sane Trilogy, which is a collection and remaster of Crash Bandicoots 1, 2, and 3. And I took this opportunity to try this game out because I've never played Crash Bandicoot before. As someone who has pretty much, when it comes to next-gen systems or systems in general for the past 20 years, I've been playing only Xbox, and then also I've kind of gotten out of playing platform except for certain ones. I never played any of the Crash Bandicoot series, so I figured, why not? Why not try it out and see, what it's like, what the hype was with Crash Bandicoot, and why there's such a nostalgia for the series. So I'm like, all right, all 3 games are here. Let me try it out and see what it's like, how it feels, how it plays. Does it hold up? Because a lot of 3D platformers from that time, many respects, don't hold up. And you look at something like a Mario 64, which I really think is the best 3D platform of all time. Even with his camera angles, going back and playing it on the N64, even the version on the DS, or even the updated versions, it still plays so well. So I was curious to see how Crash plays, and also, without having any knowledge of it, does it feel like a modern game with the updates, not just graphically, but the controls as well, which I'm assuming they made. So here we have the opening cutscene with Crash being experimented by, I think it's Dr. Cortex, and then I don't know the female Bandicoot's name, but why is she blonde and buxom? Oh well. So another loading screen, Insanity Beach. So it goes like this for the time I'm playing, just low screens, and then you get to the overworld. Now, it's interesting because I really did think that they did a really good job with the updating for modern graphics. This looks like something that could very easily have come out on the Xbox One, which is what I'm playing it on, and even with the HD. Now, one of the things that I noticed, and I don't know if this was true in the original game, or maybe just me, the depth perception of my jumps with some of these chasms is just off, or it took a little bit of time to get used to, simply because it was just, for me, it was just hard to tell. It was hard to tell where the end ledge was and then to jump. And also, I was expecting a double jump as well with Crash, which is really kind of standard in games like this. It's very linear in nature, which I wasn't really expecting. I was expecting something a bit more free-flowing, and maybe that's something that changes once you get into the sequels. Again, I got to think this came out in the 90s originally on the PlayStation 2. It was what, 95, 96 when it came out on original PlayStation. So, you're talking about a game at its core that's almost 30 years old. So it's interesting seeing these mechanics. And also, as I go through to the other games in the series, which I'm not going to do here, we're just playing through Crash 1, it'll be interesting seeing how they progress or really expand. So I'll be curious with. So this is interesting with regards to, I love the graphics on the ruins. I'm really impressed with the graphics, especially remember what PlayStation 1 games look like. This, if you told somebody this was a remaster of a PlayStation 1 game, they probably wouldn't believe you. They probably think it was something done originally for the systems in question, because it looks pretty damn good, especially when you compare it to the original. But what I would have liked though, and this is one of the things I think that's always so cool about playing the Master Chief Collection, especially playing like Halo 2 and Halo 1, you can play it as the updated graphics, the HD graphics, or you can go back to the original Xbox One graphics and play it, or the classic edition. And I wish that games like this, you were able to do that. I know some do it, but you have to unlock it, but it's kind of really cool for us old heads to go back and relive the nostalgia of playing these games on the original system, or at least what they look like, even though obviously we're not playing it on the original system. But it's one of those things where it's nice to see where you came from, and also nice to go back and experience that nostalgia when you were a kid playing this for the very first time. So I always relish those sort of functions, and it's kind of sad that something like that isn't in a really so far well done remaster, or is it really a remaster or remaking of these? I don't know. The terms are used so interchangeably now. I'll say remake, because it's not really a remaster. They had to remake this from the ground up in many respects to hit modern consoles. As you see, I'm jumping around here, and like I said, the gameplay is pretty standard. I wasn't really that impressed with the gameplay. It was, you jump, you go down a linear path, you break the blocks, you kill the enemies, you collect as many apples you can, or break the crates, and then at the end you get a tally. And it's one of those things where it's, personally, I would probably get bored with this. And again, this is only like the opening levels of the game, so I am pretty sure it gets a lot more intense and difficult to inspire more fun. But excuse me, I just don't think that just from the outset, I would be like, oh, I gotta keep playing this. And even with this, I just didn't feel like I had to keep playing it. I think it's interesting, sort of sadistic, that you get plunked in the head with all the boxes that you miss in any given level. Now here I was not paying attention, and I ended up backtracking just a bit, which you will see, which was very unintentional. But as with any sort of game like this, if you go back to the level you already beat, there is a some sort of additional quest, whether it's a time quest or different sort of items that you can now get or unlock by going through a level for a second time. And here we're looking at the save screen, and there's an autosave function, but you can never have too many saves, really, just in case things happen. Also, you might want to go back and redo things if you didn't do it right, and then just go back to a previous save and do it that way. See here, I backtracked by accident, and then I realized it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's time to go. Going back to the next level, or next stage in this overworld, this island. The Jungle Rollers. So yeah, again, you got your tropical island. Got the TNT. Oh, there was something back there. Let's go back and get it. I thought I went back and got it. I guess I didn't. I missed it. Oh no, I did go back and get it because I died and started back at the beginning. I died quite a bit on this one. A lot of it is just that, for me, that depth perception with jumping and the way that the level was angled. It was a problem for me at times. The piranha plants were a nice touch, definitely reminiscent of Mario in many respects. I like these rolling discs. That was a good mix, especially to time it. These badgers coming up, I think they're badgers, coming up out of the ground is kind of weird. But, everything spawns out of the ground in a very weird way, in my opinion. Is this another place where I die? No. I kind of figured out a little bit, but there we go. Jumped too early in this case. So here I start back at the beginning, and that's when I notice, yeah. I noticed that block up there, so we gotta go get that. So that's a weird one because you really, I know you're not supposed to notice it, but still, it's it's one of those things like if this was a 2D platformer, you would have seen it uh, very easily. So now we keep going and going. There's a bit of strategy here, especially with these badger guys coming in, how they spawn and everything. But again, I really like the graphics. I like the tropical island setting. I like the ruins aspect of things. It's a really visually pleasing aesthetic. I don't know, I'm getting Temple Run as a platformer vibes from these stages because you're going literally down a linear path, jumping, killing enemies. Even though I know this came but way before Temple Run, I just get those sort of vibes from it. And maybe it's because of the actual setting of the stage, but I just am not, I don't understand the hype. I don't understand why these games, at least from playing this, even back then were like, oh my God, this is so amazing, this is a great platform. It is simple and rudimentary, and maybe I'm looking at that in the eyes of, you know, a gamer who's played games and platformers 30 years since this came out. But again, it still doesn't equate to Mario 64, which is in many respects is contemporary during this time period. So it's kind of interesting this game became the mascot of PlayStation and became so popular. And not like a Jack and Daxter, which is very interesting. I like playing with explosives, what can I say? Can somebody tell me what the point of the TNT is if you can't pick it up and move it and use it? It's just to take your life off because you're not paying attention. I don't know. I think the usage of the TNT is interesting. But until I see something a bit more strategic, I'm going to ask the question, why is this even needed? So I'm just like, just trying to finish this level out. I'm going to end it after we finish this. Like I said, this is very linear. This is basic platforming, 3D platforming. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially when you think about this game is almost 30 years old. But today, I don't know, like, what was the game? Lucky's Super Tales. I really enjoyed playing through that game. It wasn't basic. You did have some linear stages, but that's when it switched to like 2.5D sort of layout, and even then you can go in the foreground and the background with different aspects of the levels, and that added a nice flair. No level was the same. You didn't have that linearness of it, and again, unless it was that 2.5D sort of view, but it was different, and it was a bit more imaginative. And again, I'm talking about a game that came out, 20 plus years after this game originally did, so maybe it's not fair to compare, but just playing that game as a platform and then playing this just seems basic. And honestly, this isn't a game I would just pick up and want to explore. Oh well, that's my take on Crash Bandicoot. Let me know what you think in the comments.